let's just get into it. So we are the Data Science Club, and we are focused on promoting data science and ML. So this is a great place for you if you're interested in learning about data science or are looking to find out what data science is. If you have any questions, we are happy to answer them. We have members of the exec team each uh, from each team within the Data Science Club, and you can always message us on Facebook or Discord about events throughout the term and the upcoming term. And if you're interested in joining the exec team, I think applications for that will be coming out soon as well. So yeah. Okay, moving on. So we host several, as I mentioned before, we host several workshops throughout the term. And workshops are an opportunity to learn about the theory and application of a range of data science topics. Our goal is that club members can use new data science techniques and technologies on their own after attending a workshop. The workshops are created so that they're open to all skill levels, and we are aware that the majority of our club members are younger students, so typically they're looking to work on side projects or build experience for the resume for co-ops. So we tend to have them intended for at least beginners, but also we touch on some more technical aspects as well without making it too difficult for newer students. A few of the planned workshops that we have that we're having this term are data pipelines, recommender systems, graph and graph theory applications. We'll be having different workshops for the fall term. But if you want to see workshops from our previous terms, including the ones I've listed, we do have a YouTube channel where we have a bunch of recorded workshops from previous terms, which is just posted here. So I can just send that really quickly into the chat. Um, oh, just gonna pull up the chat real quick. There we go. I think that should take you to it. We were going to have a reading group, but we ended up finding that there wasn't a ton of interest, but that tends to be the case during the summer term when there are slightly fewer members attending or just in the club. But for the fall, it's likely that we'll be having a reading group, and reading groups are basically just an opportunity for club members to read and discuss papers in an open discussion. And it usually is involving a cutting edge area of data science. So the reading group that we had planned for this current term was Monte Carlo methods, which refers to a branch of algorithms which uses randomness to solve deterministic problems. So it's a pretty cool concept, and it has a large range of real world applications. So if that sounds interesting to you, you might want to check out reading groups in the fall. It's a good way of keeping yourself consistent, and because they meet usually on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis, and it can be a good way of getting into research within data science, which can be sometimes intimidating. But yeah, those are the two uh, types of events that the education team in the data science club produce. So moving on. Does anyone want to talk about the speaker events on the exec team?
I guess I could do it. Yeah. Okay, so the speaker events are pretty cool in that all of our different teams kind of have to come together to bring them to life. We have the events team who plans the events, and then the external team looks for people to bring to those events, and then we pass it off to social media and design, who do the designing the posts and posting them on social media. Also, just as a side note, Julia posted our Discord link. That is a very great place to join if you want to meet people, if you want to, be updated about, our events. You want resume critiques, course suggestions, anything, head over to our Discord. But going back to the speaker events, what essentially happens is we bring someone in and we ask them to talk about what they do and where they work at, right? So maybe they work at a specific company. We were having a fireside chat with a data analyst at Microsoft this Friday at 7 p.m., I think. And he will be coming in and he will be talking about his work. Last week we had a research panel and we had a bunch of grad students from UW UW grad students, UW grad school alumni, and we also had a UW undergrad alumni who is currently at CMU, and they came in and they talked about their research and they talked about their path into research. And also sometimes we focus on the specific technologies that a student company uses. These are usually all covered under our speaker events and panels. Right. Somewhat as an extension of the speaker event, we sometimes have industry events, and these include co-op panels where we bring in people from the industry to talk about their experiences, finding co-op, and also sometimes their experiences hiring co-ops, and they can provide a very unique perspective in that case. This term, we are having a project program, and essentially what that is we have teamed up with the Computer Science Club, and we have grouped the I guess people involved into teams. So now I think we have groups of I think the events team might be able to clarify a little bit more, but groups of 3 to 4 people, and they have been assigned a mentor, and they have chosen a topic, and they have been working on it all term. And then next week I believe it would be, again, maybe the events team could clarify, but next week there's going to be a showcase, and we have recruited judges from the industry to come in and give them feedback on their work.
I can talk about this slide. So we also have club socials. So we frequently have game nights, which happen throughout the term just to interact with. We try to get as much interaction between club members virtually because we know COVID has made things tougher. And that's a big part of being in the data science club. It's meeting some of the other members and talking to some of the execs and just branching out your Waterloo and data science community. So yeah, we'll play Pictionary, poker sometimes, the classic Scribble.io, and what else? Code names. So then we also have a podcast. Is that someone from the podcast team here?
Yeah, so we have a podcast team. It's called Unlabeled Instructors. So if you just Google it, there's going to be different platforms like Spotify or Apple Podcasts where you can listen our podcast. So basically, we try to invite guests from the field of data science or technology in a bigger picture. And basically, we try to talk about some topics in the field, and we try to kind of get a personal idea out of them. So it's not like something where you can get by Googling stuff, because this is like personal experience and personal stories about these professionals around the industry. And so far we had around 4 episodes filmed, and we have 3 out. So you guys can go check it out. And if you go to the next slide, I think we have some guests. Yeah, so we've had some special guests. We had the founder of a hot startup company called Snap Commerce. And we also had a data science YouTuber called Nicholas Renault. He has more than 300,000 subscribers, so that's really cool. And we also had interns from Facebook, Shopify, and stuff like that. So, we're actually getting some really nice guests and some good information. So yeah, make sure to check it out.
So lastly, how do you become involved in the data science club? Usually at the beginning of the term, we will send out a form for people to sign up with the club and then join our Discord. It's super easy to join. And then you'll receive monthly newsletters and emails about the events that are going on. You should follow our socials. I believe if someone from the social team can plug the our socials. Okay, yeah, the Instagram, that's awesome. Julia already plugged the Discord, which is a good point of contact for information. Awesome. And yeah, that's, I guess, the end of our quick presentation about what the Data Science Club is. Does anyone have any questions? You can unmute or send them in the chat.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm sorry if I missed the beginning of this webinar, technical difficulties, but are there certain restrictions, say, if you're not necessarily in a data science major, can you still join this club and learn more?
Great question. The answer, yes. Yeah, so definitely. Yeah, it's open to all, or sorry, yeah, you don't have to be in a specific data science major.
Yeah, I think the answer is no.
Yes. Oh, sorry. The answer is no.
No, because she asked, "Are there any restrictions?" And then you
Oh,
were like,
sorry.
"Yes, definitely, yes."
Sorry. I'm a little tired this morning. I
No,
meant to
no, no
say
worries.
it's open to all members. Oh, sorry, but Romina, can you clarify? Do you have to be
No, no,
like
you
part of
don't have to.
MathSoc or
No,
anything?
no.
No. Okay,
I
yeah.
think you have to pay the MassWalk fee, which is like a couple
Okay,
of
yeah.
dollars. But yeah, no, other than that, you can be in any program. Our president is actually in management engineering. So
Sorry, a little tired this morning. I
yeah, no
misheard your
worries.
question.
Oh, I
So
asked
yeah, it's
something
open to everyone. I
I-
wasn't sure if you have to pay the
Mhm.
fee or
And
not.
No.
I had one other thing to add. I think if you're a member, you don't have to pay. So if you're just like,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
you'll just have access to all the events. You can attend our panels and whatnot. I think only if you're an executive member. So if you decide to like join our exec team, you'd have to pay the MathSoc fee.
All right, and so this MathSoc fee, it'll come later in the term, so I shouldn't be worried about it now.
Yeah, and
yeah, it's usually, sorry, if you're in math, it might just already be like in your tuition. It's just like a fee you could like opt out or opt in. So if you have it like manually opt out of it, you're already paying the fee, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so
And
like let's say I'm in, sorry, go ahead.
No. You go ahead. We want to hear your
Okay.
questions.
So if I'm entering honors math this term, then I should be fine. I shouldn't worry too much.
Yeah, I think you're already paying the fee, unless like you purposely yourself went into Quest and said, no, I don't want to pay the fee, then I think you're already paying the fee.
Okay.
Yeah, and you get access to like all of the MathSoc clubs by paying this MathSoc fee. So, and I think you get access to some other resources as well. So I guess we'd recommend that you don't opt out.
Okay.
But then I guess as for like people not studying data science focused majors, yeah, there's a lot of members that do that. So like I'm in software engineering, which there's fewer members in the data science club. It's usually like computer science and like more math and stats backgrounds. But yeah, we're open to I think anyone paying the MathSoc fee. And it's just an opportunity to learn about data science because a lot of people don't exactly know what data science entails and the types of what research and data science looks like, what co-op jobs and data science looks like. And also it can be daunting to get started. So that's why the workshops are sort of there to give you starting points on working on your own side projects, or just starting points on areas that you might want to look into on your own. But yeah.
Okay. And so for this year, because of COVID, will the club be mostly held online, or will there be like in-person segments that you recommend we attend?
That's a good question, Pratika.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think because the fall term we're using like a hybrid approach where some students have the ability to come in person and some have the opportunity to stay online if they please. We are most probably going to have everything completely virtual just to make sure that it is accessible to everybody. So for the fall term, for now, everything's going to be virtual. You're just going to be joining Zoom calls similar to this one. But hopefully in the winter term and thereafter, we'll probably have some in-person activities that you can join as well. And I think there's a similar question in the chat. Will there be in-person events for the winter? I think it really just depends on how COVID's looking in the winter. Hopefully it's gone, it's poof, it's like not a thing anymore. And then we're all able to come back in person. I think the only time when all of the clubs, the meetings and stuff like that will go fully in person is when school is fully in person. So let's just hope for the best.
I think there have been some good things though about the club moving to being virtual though, is that we've started to record a lot more of our events and post them and like branch out on the resources that the data science club has available. So that's been good because now members that aren't able to attend the event live are able to watch it back later on our YouTube channel. So that's one good part about us being virtual, I guess, as opposed to in person. But yeah, definitely we're looking forward to also having like the in-person interaction component of our club, which is a big part, just meeting other people that are knowledgeable about particular areas and just chatting.
Yeah, and building off what Jack said, we also now recruit people on co-op terms, and now we're accessible to people on co-op terms, which I think is really cool because now we've had execs who have been with us for a year straight, and that really wouldn't have happened in person because they would have had to leave after a term to move somewhere else and then come back, and yeah.
Did we have any other questions? Oh, feel free to put it in the chat too if you're more comfortable doing that.
If no one else has any questions as of now, just out of curiosity, are there any club members currently who are in the data science, preferably math program?
I think Julia.
Yeah, I'm in data science, but I'm in the computer science. Like I'm getting a bachelor's in computer science, but I can answer any questions you have.
Yeah, I'm actually interested in selecting that as a major, and I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about your experience or any tips to know or something.
Yeah, for sure. Are you in math or CS?
I'm in math.
Okay, I think if you're in math, the application process is slightly different than if you're in CS. So I think if you're in CS, you could just like fill in a form and you automatically get into the data science program. But if you're in math, I think it is a bit more competitive because if you're in data science, you are like taking some computer science courses, which like there are limited spots for those. So then I think you can apply at the end of first year, and then you would get the results at the beginning of second year. And it's basically, I think they look at like your marks, mostly like computer science marks, and then like a question, like an open question to answer as well.
All right. And so in your experience in your studies, has it been what you thought it was? Is it surprising in any way?
I think for me, it wasn't too surprising. It's pretty, because for me, it wasn't really when I transferred from like CS major to data science major, it really wasn't too different for me just because I still have to fulfill all the computer science requirements. And a lot of it is just like computer science, and then like on top of that, additional stats and data science courses as my electives. So it's more like a really specialized computer science program. And then I think for math, it might be a bigger transition just because you're open to taking more CS courses.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Tips to do well in CS 135. Has anyone taken that course?
Yeah, I took 135.
Would you like to talk about
135?
And have you taken 136?
Yeah, both 135 and 136. To be honest, like I feel like they are really closely related and like in like what algorithms you would use and stuff like that. Basically in 135 you use this thing called Racket. It's this like super ancient language. You basically can't do anything on it. It's just like it just does what it tells, like what you tell it to do, right? Like so in that way it's kind of easy to use, whereas like the syntax is kind of simple. It's a simple task, but things are a bit rigorous. So then like you would kind of think, oh, if there's like this functionality that I can use, it would be so much easier. Then you'll find those stuff in 136, like because you're going to be using C in 136. So it kind of like all translates over. Yeah. So in 135, you're just going to learn basics like algorithm, like how, like the conceptual stuff. And then in 136, you can actually start applying to more complex problems. And yeah. But then
I really liked Racket.
you like it?
Yeah, I don't know. Like once you get it, it's like really satisfying in my opinion.
That's
just like
yeah. I kind of agree with you though. Like some people really hate it, but I don't think it's that bad.
yeah, I think like for me, like an advice I would give to like do well in both courses is like to get really good at like testing your code. That's like there's a really large emphasis on that in those two courses. I'm pretty sure in 136, like it would I finished the questions like pretty quickly, but literally half of the other time me spending like on that assignment is like me like writing the test cases and making sure I thoroughly test my code because they do look at how you test your code and yeah, pretty much they look at how you test your code in both 136 and 135.
Yeah, definitely. Like adding on to Julia's point, testing is the only way to kind of know that your code is right. Like sure, you can read over your syntax and it might seem correct, but you never know until you actually try your code out. So it's really important, even when you're doing like side projects like that. Like testing is always important to make sure that everything is like working.
Yeah, like I had like a test case for every like if statement I had.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, testing takes longer than the actual.
Yeah, it takes a good amount of time
Yeah.
out of your assignment. Yeah, for CS 135, I think like one of the reasons why they chose to do Racket instead of like any other language like Python or Java, which a lot of people already know, is because they want to like level the playing field for people who don't already know like a programming language, because yeah, like Rocket's like pretty much a language no one has ever worked with. So I think the course is like pretty like beginner friendly, I guess. And like for tips, I think it would be a really good idea to attend the tutorials because they are very hands-on. And another thing is I really liked about 135 was there's this tool, I don't know if they still use it, but they have this tool called like a stepper where it kind of walks, it's like kind of like a, I don't know how to explain it, but they make you walk through like Racket code and make you say what the expected output is. And just by forcing yourself to go through that, it helps you really understand exactly what's going on in the code. Like for me personally, that's pretty much how I learned Racket. I didn't always look at the lectures or anything, but I would just I would just like do the separate questions, and that would help me understand, and then I would do the assignment.
It sounds like it's a bit like a debugger where you just go
Yeah, almost.
line
It's
by
like
line.
it really helped me understand like recursion, like because it would
Yeah.
like kind of go through the layers of recursion explicitly, and then you see how it like all plays out.
I never took CS 135 or 136, but a bunch of my current roommates did, and I was friends with them in first year. And they definitely mentioned to me that Racket, it's like very much just a learning language, just to learn concepts, and they referenced recursion a lot. So I think you'll be doing a bunch of recursion problems. And if you've never heard of recursion, that's okay. Both of my roommates hadn't done, or I think they might have, one of them might have known about recursion from like a math background, but not in a coding context. And my other friend, he didn't know it really at all. So it's okay to have no experience.
Honestly, I could
Yeah,
probably like kind of share my experience because I had zero coding experience going into university, like nothing. What I did was I don't know if I should say this, but I googled CS 135 because I know I would be taking that on Google, and I was able to find lecture notes because like they have a separate website for like CS 135 and 136, and I basically downloaded all the PDFs for the notes, and I just studied it over the summer. I had nothing to do anyways because of COVID, so and it really helped. Like the first time around, I was like, "What is this talking about?" I had no idea. But then when I actually took the course, and there were like some like like actual profs and TAs helping me out, and with the assignments, I was actually able to understand it pretty well. So yeah, I would say if you have no coding experience or very little, looking like kind of studying ahead could really help. And also, Alenka also asked what laptop specs we should have. I have an XPS 15. I think it's a 2018 model, 2019, if I'm correct. But I don't think it really, like, unless you're using Android Studios, which some laptops can be, like, it can be really slow on some laptops. But for like basic languages, I don't think specs really matter.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I know coming into university, I needed to buy a laptop as well. And like I was asking some of my friends who were doing computer science at Waterloo, and yeah, I got the same answer. Just most laptops are work. There's no like one that there's no ones that you shouldn't get basically. Like Apple will work. Yeah, like all the Linux based
yeah.
ones will work.
I think like personally, if I have like a Lenovo, but I think if I were to buy a computer for first year, I would buy a MacBook just because they have like a bash terminal, which is like what you use in, do you use it when, no, in 236, CS 236, like you do a lot of like bash scripts. And then like if you have a Windows, you have to like SSH into the school Linux servers. And that was really troublesome. But if you have a MacBook, you don't have to do that. But that's just like one point of convenience.
There's another question in the chat about could you also touch on note taking in university? Maybe how did it differ in math and CS courses compared to high school?
That's a good question.
I can. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll make a quick point. Just that I think one of the cool parts about online learning is that a lot of materials are now posted for you, or at least in some classes. So yeah, so like a lot of slides will be posted, videos, obviously, like the recorded lectures if you are taking recorded classes, which has been super useful. So for some classes, I don't take notes because like, why am I just rewriting basically essentially the slide contents when they give me the slides themselves? So I just use those to study, but it depends. Usually for math classes, for coding classes, I won't really write it down again, but for math classes I will, just because I find that like it reinforces the writing style of a proof, for example, or if I see a similar problem in the future, I'll have a bit more of the muscle memory to recall that. But online, that's one of the nice things about it. And then in person though, for note taking, I think that in high school I had, sorry Julia, just really quickly, I'll say that
No, no worries.
in high school I had a bit of a habit of kind of just writing down everything that the teacher would write on the board, which isn't a bad thing. It's just that it's less practical in a university setting, in my opinion, because you really just want to be writing down the information that's like almost tested on, if that makes sense. Because sometimes yeah, again, this depends. For like math classes, I think it's okay to just write everything, but for maybe like I guess if you're in CS, you don't really you have the choice of not taking science classes, but I guess econ too, or just whatever other electives you're taking, I guess, and even programming class. It's better to sometimes condense down your notes a bit more and be more economic in terms of the notes that you're taking. So yeah.
Yeah, I was like pretty much going to say the same thing. Like in high school, I took very detailed notes. But like in university, I feel like for each term, like each class in each term, you learn a lot more. So you don't really have, it's not really effective to like try to go into detail on everything you learn, especially if you're not going to be tested on it. It's and then I think like one thing that really helped me is like I would create before like a test or something, I would create like a cheat sheet for myself that just has like all the information. I try like putting everything on one sheet of paper, and then even though you might not get access to the cheat sheet during the test. It's just like the process of writing it and summarizing the information is also like a good way to study.
I actually do exactly that as well. So funny you bring that up.
And do you recommend buying a tablet or learning latex? I use both. Like I have an iPad and I find that really helpful like for like jotting down notes and stuff. And then for latex, I don't use it to like take notes like during like class because that takes more time unless like you're really good. I've seen some people who just like do that in class, but I use latex for like for assignments when I do have time to like write things out.
Yeah, like I'm taking math 237 right now. And we have like a latex bonus. If you fill out your assignments in latex, we get a 2% bonus. So that's really cool. It's really easy to use if you once you get the hang of it, and it's pretty useful. Like if there's like long integration stuff and you don't want to like rewrite it, you can just copy and paste it. Like it's so
Yeah.
sometimes it can save time.
There are some courses like Romina and I were taking stat 341, and like in that course you have to use latex to type up all your solutions.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't use LaTeX for my other courses. But you know, as I think Jay mentioned, profs do really like it when you know to like in LaTeX and super organized.
Yeah, and Amy, to answer your question, is there a specific note-taking program? I use Good Notes, and I think like the two on the iPad is like Good Notes and Notability. I think they're both good.
I just realized also we have, well, we do have a couple other slides, but they were,
Yeah, no,
the
it's
ratio
all
is pretty
good.
good already.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I was gonna,
I feel the one-to-ones might leave a lot of execs without
yeah, yeah,
questions.
yeah, no,
So,
all good. I left it as like a fail safe if we didn't have enough questions coming in. But I think it was a pretty interactive session. Don't worry about it. Do we have any other questions from the attendees? And honestly, you can ask about anything. It doesn't have to be data science related or school related. It can be about Waterloo or what school's like.
Okay, I'll shoot. Do you guys have any activity recommendations to do outside of school, or maybe like to take a break for yourself? Just places to go around Waterloo?
My answer for when COVID's a thing is just I get up and go on walks. I can't even do that now because it's raining outside. But usually if I like get overwhelmed with school, I just like close my laptop, call a friend, and go for a walk. I just go do it alone. And in terms of other activities that I do, um, to sort of just like have my me time, is definitely drawing on the iPad. It's so fun because it's so easy to do. And the thing is, you don't even have to be good at it. I absolutely suck. Like no one's seen my art. But it's very, very common. So I absolutely encourage that if you're, considering buying an iPad. What else? Does anyone else have any other suggestions for what they do when they're trying to take a break? Especially now.
Waterloo Park is nice. There are like
Yeah.
animals. There's like a peacock and like fluffy chickens and llamas. It's like really nice to look at the
There's a little
animals there.
zoo there in Waterloo Park.
Yeah.
So a lot of people go there. Pre-COVID, I went to the movies a lot with some of the friends like I met in my res, because there's an LRT in Waterloo that goes to like a mall a bit north of the actual Waterloo city. What else? Just get exercise, especially with like everyone being inside. So yeah, going for walks and stuff or jogs and stuff
Mhm.
I
regularly
don't know if the
definitely helps.
campus will be open, but like still like to I used to like to play Pokemon Go on campus because there's like a lot of like I don't know if anyone's like they have a lot of like places within the campus where you can like play.
Right. I remember in first year, yeah, I was walking into, where was it? I can't remember the name of the building, but yeah, it was 7 o'clock at night and I was going for like extra help or maybe it was some sort of like some sort of extra help, and the lobby was just crowded. And I was like, why are there so many people here? Because I'd been before and I was like, there's only a couple of people and there was this 50 people. Turns out there was a Pokemon like battle going on. um, so yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm like making a list, and I'm sure your drawings are great. Like, come on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll share it with you after when I feel like it's good enough for people to see.
Uh, like I asked, how would we become a part or a member of Math in general?
I think like if you're a math student, you're in the math faculty, you're already a part of MathSoc. You're just like MathSoc is a society of the math students. So you are automatically enrolled as soon as you enroll into university. If you do want to attend events and such, then you can just do that because you've already paid the MathSoc fee. But if you choose to opt out, you might have to like pay a fee or something, especially if it's like an in-person event. And if there are other people in the call right now who are not in the math faculty and want to join clubs like this one or attend events hosted by MathSoc, you might have to pay the fee. But for now, you don't have to pay anything because it's the pandemic. But it might change when you're in person. But yeah, you're already a part of MathSoc as soon as you enroll. If you're a math.
If you want to like get more involved like with like the MathSoc team, I know like pre-COVID, like there would be like a math soc office, like you could like volunteer to be like an office helper, because they like rent out board games, stuff like that. You can also like just join their exec team. I know they have like different positions, so that's something you could also look into.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm sure MathLab does this, but where they basically sort of put the applications out, and then it's a voting process for like each of the MathSoc members to elect their MathSoc committee. And I think yeah, they would go on a portal and then vote for you, and then based on those votes, whoever's the highest would be a part of MathSoc. It's really cool to
I think some positions are like voting and some are like it's just appointed.
So yeah, it's very entertaining to see people campaigning, especially online, because it's just like story after story. But it's really cool. You should definitely check it out if you're interested.
I'm not sure about for CS, but I know I think, or well, at least for SE is like under the Eng faculty and the math faculty. So I know near the beginning of the term, usually they have elections for a lot of the society representative positions. So like math soc being one of them. And I assume that's the case for like computer science and
Yeah,
math.
like we have like a first year rep or multiple first year reps, stuff like that.
Any other questions? I see that we only have 2 minutes left, so it's your last chance. No, I'm kidding. You can reach out to any of us after too. If you have any questions. I think Julia initially shared all of the links to follow us, especially on Discord. And if you join Discord, you should be able to like see execs on the right column, and you can just reach out to any of us, and we'd be happy to answer questions too after. But since we're all here, you can still ask questions.
Just to add on to what Bathika said, you can also check out our Instagram. And if you go back a couple of posts, there's the introduction for the term, and we're all tagged there. So you can also reach out on Instagram if that works better for you.
No problem.
Yeah, I think I asked all my questions for today. Thanks so much, you guys. This is really great.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Hope to see you all eventually in person.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, bye.
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 Bye everyone.
Bye.
Okay.
You'll probably have to like stop the recording before you end. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I think